because this is what we all do. We all become who we think we need to be and get lost from ourselves. That then squashes our sense of confidence and empowerment as women.
Be confident, be bold, be authentic, but don't forget to take action. This is Ordinary to Badass, where our stories empower women to step into the spotlight of their own lives and pursue what they're truly passionate about. It's time to step into the arena and become more than just extraordinary. It's time to become a badass with your host, Marie Sonneman.
Welcome to Ordinary to Badass, episode number 279. In this episode, you are going to hear from Karyn Seitz. Karyn is a former spiritual healer. She realized her clients were not getting better. She was frustrated that she could not deliver the results to her clients that her clients wanted, even though she was trying lots of different healing modalities and coaching techniques. Karyn knew she wasn't getting the changes she wanted in her life. She secretly lacked any confidence in her ability to change. Her adult life stalled. In a fresh new search for answers, Karyn found the missing piece that would ultimately transform her life and her clients. There is something very profound in owning that she is the problem in her life. This awareness pushed her to confront herself and get serious about herself and her life. Karyn is now fulfilled in her life and teaches others the same journey she has taken to find herself and be happy. Karyn calls herself the happiness expert and teaches an online happiness course for women called Awakened Grace. So this episode with Karyn is so good. You're going to hear us talk all about happiness and where it comes from, how you can get it, as well as the importance of cultivating a relationship with yourself. And maybe you don't have to achieve. Often we think we have to achieve, and do all these things and meet other people's expectations. And there's a shocking truth about boundaries. So make sure you listen to this episode. You're going to love it. So before we get there, I got to tell you, there's changes going on with Ordinary to Badass. I am moving away from teaching anything financial, and moving towards teaching courage, or teaching introverts how to have more courage. And some of that is through adventure. So I am so excited. I cannot wait. It's a little scary, but it also lights me up and excites me. So that's kind of changes going on around here. But as for the podcast, you're going to keep hearing from badasses about their stories, and it's going to be epic. I think 2023, a lot going on, and I am so excited. All right, let's get to it. Welcome to Ordinary to Badass. Whether you're ordinary or badass, I'm so glad you're here. Today's guest is Karyn Seitz. Karyn, thank you so much for being here. Excited to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me, Marie. It's good to be here.
So before we go any further, I've got to ask you, do you consider yourself ordinary or badass?
Yeah, great question. And that really sets me up to share about my journey and my story and in the direction that I needed to go to find my confidence. And so I actually consider myself to be ordinary. And I want to give a little background on why I had to learn through my journey. So for me, I wasn't necessarily on a path to be more badass, but I was on a path to be a spiritual guru and to be like a super enlightened person. And that was my journey, and that was my path. And what ended up happening, the reason that I was on that path, was trying to become somebody more than me. And what I learned is that when I try to become somebody more than me, that actually leads to my experience and stems from me not feeling enough, being insecure, and thinking that who I am isn't good enough to just be me. So my journey has really been about healing my relationship with myself, learning to connect with myself, and recognizing that I am an ordinary, normal person. And in that, learning to just be me in that ordinary has helped me to feel extraordinary in who I am, which is, I think, what we look for as women when we're trying to be badass and looking for that. In my experience, looking for that for our confidence to come from that place, we miss out on the extraordinary of who we are. And that's been my journey. And I'm really excited to dig more into that with you today, Marie.
Yes, I love so much about what you said, about trying to become someone more than you and then missing out on the extraordinary. There's so
Mhm,
much goodness there and so much that I think that is ingrained in a lot of us women. We just have this
mhm.
idea that we're not enough or we need somebody's help and do these programs, do something different to try to make us enough. Was there anything like a turning point for you or anything that really helped you to start
Mhm.
to embrace who you are right now?
Yes, definitely. So I briefly mentioned that I was on a spiritual journey. So to give just a little background, I grew up very rebellious, very defiant, and I got into drugs. I had unhealthy relationships with men. I had severe money issues and was constantly getting into massive amounts of debt. I had a very destructive start to my adulthood. So when I was about 26, I realized that I needed to get help and get on a different path, or I saw exactly where my life was going. And I made a choice. It was a crossroads. I made a choice that I needed to do something different. So I began going to therapy. That led into a spiritual seeking journey. I had a healing practice. I did all the woo woo you can imagine, and that was the facade that I put forth in life to try to make it seem to myself and others that I had it all together, that I had things figured out, that I was on a good track for myself. And there was so much pressure internally to keep up that facade, especially when on the inside, I still felt incredibly insecure, um, no idea who I was, and feeling like, is this just going to be my life? So when I was 31, I really had an awakening and a paradigm shift in perspective of how life really works. And what clicked for me to start to get out of this place of being in a facade and presenting myself to the world as somebody other than Karyn was really the shift in perspective to know that I am the problem in my life and that my answers aren't just in me, that I was the answer I had been searching for my whole life. And I think that's really, really important for us as women to know. We all get caught in this trap of thinking we need to be somebody for others, of trying to be who we think we need to be to get liked, to be accepted, to be validated, and we lose the connection with ourselves. And what happens in that is then we begin to think it's everyone else and everything else in our life that's the problem, that we feel so insecure, that we feel so lost, that we feel so disconnected. And then there's no solution. And we just go around in circles. So when we can realize that we are the problem, we're empowered to be the solution. And then the next step after that isn't trying to be somebody other than who you are. It's really learning to heal your relationship with yourself and build a connection to you, because that's what you've been missing. If you're out there and you're listening and you feel like there's something missing in me and I just can't figure it out, it's you. And that's what was missing in me. I was missing a connection to myself. So that was really the paradigm shift that set me on this path and allowed me to start to become me and feel self-assured and confident in myself just by being Karyn.
Oh, to be yours. You heard it from Karyn. You are the answer that you've been searching for. I love that. Can't wait to dig in. This episode's going to be fire. Karyn, first, will you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yep. So in addition to what I've been sharing, I think what's important to know is seeing just my ordinary background. So I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee. My dad is a retired Master Chief from the Navy. My mom is a retired nurse from St. Jude Children's Hospital in Memphis. And growing up, like I said, I was very rebellious, very obstinate, got into a lot of trouble, and that led into my 20s. And through trying to find myself, trying to get my life together, I went on a path that a lot of us do of, trying to check the boxes in life to get all the things that we think we need to get a good life. So after I got out of those rebellious years, I started a healing practice. I got married. Um, I, tried to get my adult life together, and I still felt a sense of emptiness and still felt a sense of kind of asking myself, like, is this all there's going to be? And that really led me on a path of really learning what it takes to be fulfilled in life, and what it takes to feel complete and whole within oneself, so that we can be confident, and we can be self-assured.
So, do you have any practices that you do regularly that help you feel more confident and self assured?
Mm. Well, really, the practice, it used to be when I was on my spiritual path, it was, the practices I would do would be meditation, or it would be doing yoga, or journaling, or practicing gratitude, and thinking that those things were going to give me a sense of myself, and that somewhere in there I would find my confidence. And for me, in my experience, those things didn't work because they were more of me trying to look for my answers outside of me, trying to be somebody other than who I was. So really the practice now isn't like a daily practice or something like meditation or journaling or yoga or exercise or those things to feel confident. It's really a practice of continuing to be true to myself. And in order to be true to myself, and I think this is an important um, angle for the listeners, that this is where you can start, and something that is actionable, is we have to start to explore and take inventory and reflect on the ways we're not being true to ourselves and our life, the things that we've taken on, the things that we've started doing that we think we're supposed to do, we think we should do, or who we think we're supposed to be, and start to really ask ourselves, is this me? And really looking at the ways that we're not being ourselves, looking at the ways we're not being true to ourselves, so that we can start to understand who we are, and then take those steps in life to just show up as ourselves. And that's what helps me to feel confident. It's when I'm just me, and I'm not trying to be somebody else, and I'm okay with my flaws. I'm okay with my shortcomings. I'm okay that there are people who don't like me or don't connect with me or aren't ever going to be somebody that um, we really click. When I can come from that place and just be me, that's where I feel confident. That's where I feel assured. When I'm trying to be somebody else and wearing a facade, that's where we feel under an immense amount of pressure. And it gets exhausting to try to keep that up, thinking that's what I need to be okay in life. For me, that was my, like I've talked about today, that was my spiritual facade.
So, how do you start to recognize these areas where you're not being true to yourself?
Mhm. Well, I'd say one of the biggest ways is recognizing, uh, really slowing down, actually. One of the things I've learned is that we always know. We just have to slow down enough to be honest with ourselves. So when we can make a list of, okay, what are the things that I'm doing currently? And for me, it was things like yoga and meditation. I used to hike really big mountains here in Colorado with my husband that I started doing when I met him and didn't hike prior to that at all. You can make a list of the things that you're currently doing and really slow down and ask yourself, is this something that I enjoy? Is this something that if nobody was checking in on me, would I keep this up and continue doing this? And the secret is that when we slow down enough, we're very aware of the things we're doing in our lives that are not being true to ourselves. So using those things as examples, when I slowed down enough, it was very evident to me that I didn't like hiking, that I did yoga as I should or supposed to, that I hated meditating. I wasn't very good at it and I always got frustrated and I didn't like it. And it, we all know. And then it's a matter of looking at, okay, what did I used to enjoy that I stopped doing when I got a career, when I got married, when I had kids, when life started to happen? What are the things that I used to really enjoy when I was younger that I've completely forgotten about? And that's where we'll find where we can be true to ourselves. And that's where we can find who we really are and start to connect with ourselves. So again, not to be too repetitive, but when you slow down and you're honest with yourself, I assure you, for everyone listening, you know where you're not being true to yourself. It's just a willingness to be vulnerable and have the courage to look and know that it's okay, because this is what we all do. We all become who we think we need to be and get lost from ourselves. That then squashes our sense of confidence and empowerment as women.
So I know that you're known as the happiness mentor. This
Mhm.
idea of slowing down, looking at the things around us, looking at the things that don't feel like they align with us anymore or with our values or who we want to be, does that then translate to feeling happier?
Yeah. So what we really want to look at in happiness and is really understanding what it means. So for me, what I had to discover is that I wanted happiness to be about feeling happy. I wanted it to be about joy. I wanted it to be about the emotion of happy. And that's actually part of what got me really off track because I was chasing a feeling. And we all know that the feeling of being happy or the feeling of joy or the emotions of those elated experiences are fleeting, they're short lived. We can't always feel immersed in joy or bliss or that feeling of happy because the reality of life is that life is full of challenges. It's full of hardships. It's full of us facing our own shortcomings, which I still do to this day, that we don't always feel happy in those experiences. So for me, I had to realize there was a completely different experience of what happiness is. And so how I define happiness is I only want to be me and I only want the life I have. I only want to be me and I only want the life I have. It's a deep acceptance of who we are and the life that we have, where we don't have a sense of lack or want in our lives. And it's not because of what we have in our lives or who we have in our lives. It's a deep sense of being okay within ourselves. So, yes, when we learn to slow down and be honest with ourselves and find the areas and the choices we're making in our lives where we are not being true to ourselves, where we're living in a facade of who we think we need to be, and we start to be honest with ourselves about what we do actually enjoy, what we would like to do in our lives, who we truly are at the core of our being, that's when we do find a sense of acceptance within ourselves and just want to be who we are, which is the experience of being happy. And what happens, why that works, is when you're willing to look at yourself and highlight the ways that you're not being true to yourself and begin to make different choices to be who you are, that builds a sense of self-value internally. And when we have that internal self-value of feeling good about who we are, that's where our confidence comes from. It really comes from that self-value that we create internally, where we've gotten lost as humans and as women, is looking for our sense of value externally, which is then how we feel very insecure and lack confidence, because all of our sense of worth and all of our sense of value and who we are is based on our outside world, which is a very fragile foundation because we have no control over that external experience.
Yeah, and I like how you said, I only want to be me and I only want the life that I have, because like you said about looking for value out there, or we're constantly moving the needle. Can you hear me okay? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We're constantly moving the needle out further and further, or we look for a goal and then we accomplish that goal and then we're going to push it out further, like it's not good enough, it's not good enough, always thinking it needs to be something bigger, better. So what do we do to start combating that?
Well, we have to recognize that that is our experience, that we as humans have lived in this experience of constantly being in the pursuit of happiness. And that's where we look to all these different boxes we think we need to check, whether that's getting a degree, um, getting a career and having the promotions and the achievements and the accomplishments, getting married, having kids, moving, going on vacations, buying a house. Everything we do as humans is in that pursuit of happiness, which is actually our experience of being unhappy because we're looking to those things outside of us, the goals, the different achievements, the boxes we want to check in life, thinking that once we get there, once we have this, then I will be happy. When as adults, we all know and have heard so many different ways that no one and no thing can make you happy. Yet we're constantly in this pursuit of looking to people and things outside of us to make us happy. So just recognizing that that's where you've been, and normalizing it, that it's okay. That's all of our experience. It's just our humanness, but recognizing that and seeing that, you can actually sit down and make a list of, okay, what have I done in my life? What have I tried to accomplish thinking that that will make me happy? And you can start to make a list. And if you're being really honest with yourself and really taking a, a deep dive into it, you'll have a list of 50, 100 things and recognize, oh my gosh, none of these things have made me happy. I'm still chasing something. I still have this sense of unfulfillment and this sense of emptiness. And just by recognizing that, then you can start to make the shift. And I call it it's a simple lifestyle change to go from looking for people and things outside of you to make you happy and fill you up in some way, to beginning to build internal self-value, recognizing that that's what's going to allow you to find your happiness within yourself, is a connection to you and making choices in life, and running straight into life and the challenges and the ups and downs as a way to grow and learn about yourself and to make yourself important to you, to show yourself that you matter to you. That's where you're going to find your sense of happiness.
So I know you said make the list of things that make you unhappy. I would think it would be then make the list of things that make you happy, but it sounds like that would just maybe be just chasing something external. Is that right or no?
Correct. Yeah. Well, what's fascinating is we'll find the very things that we thought make us happy or made us happy are then the very things that we turn around and think make us unhappy. So we might think, getting married, having kids, getting, the perfect job, having the financial security, that those things will make us happy. And then we can look and see, oh my gosh, then as soon as the challenges hit in the marriage, as soon as the challenges hit in being a mom or a parent, as soon as the challenges hit with the job, then we think those are the things making us unhappy. So it's just this hamster wheel that we live on. And so the purpose in making that list is to recognize and really see that no one and no thing can make you happy, and no one and no thing can make you unhappy, that both are an inside job. And when we can realize that and really see that, it's very empowering, because we stop giving the power and control away to our external world, and we take it back and it lives within us, for us to be able to build our own sense of self-value, our own sense of feeling good about who we are, completely independent of our external world. And we don't have to give up our external world. That's often the inner fight we come up against. But I don't want to give up my job. I don't want to give up my marriage or my kids. And you don't have to. Those are all a part of life in which you can grow and learn about yourself, to build that sense of self-worth and feeling good about who you are on the inside. It's just letting go of thinking those things are going to fill you up and make you happy. That's where we get off track. And then that's where we lose our sense of confidence and try to become who we think we need to be. And then all of a sudden, we're 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, and wondering, who the heck am I, independent of all these things in my life?
So I know you said earlier you got away from the spiritual journey because you were trying to seek your worth in that. What do you do now to get in touch with yourself?
Yeah, well, everything we've been talking about is the journey of being happy, and that's the connection to myself. So the beauty in learning to develop one sense of self-worth internally and feeling good about who you are on the inside is that that comes from a connection to yourself. And it's not a practice or um, a book or a spiritual practice that we have to do to stay connected to ourselves. It's really staying slowed down and continuing to make choices in our lives where we consider who we are and we make ourselves a priority, not in a selfish way, but in a way of valuing who we are and putting ourselves first, so that we're feeling good about who we are on the inside, and then have plenty of energy for the other people in our lives and our different relationships. So there isn't any one thing that I maintain to stay connected to myself. It's really continuing to cultivate a relationship with myself by using life as my greatest teacher, to grow and learn, to embrace the challenges in life, to overcome my shortcomings, overcome my limitations. And in that, learning about who I am, believing in myself, and knowing that I can handle life. So really the only practice now would be embracing life and really using life as the platform and the vehicle to get to know who I am and build my sense of confidence by doing life, and really being in the reality of life versus the fantasy or the facade that I was trying to make it on, for in my experience, on my spiritual journey.
So I think a lot of us look for an answer, kind of like I just asked you that question. Like a lot of us look for an answer, like what one thing is going to solve this? How can I fix this in one step?
Mm-hmm.
Or what practice can
Mm-hmm.
I do to fix this or fix myself? But it sounds like there's not necessarily a practice. It's more of just being more
Mm-hmm.
self-aware. What do you tell your clients that
Yeah.
are struggling with this?
Self-awareness is, yeah, self-awareness is the practice. So for my clients, so how I work is I work within a 10-week program to really help people, and specifically women, first really help them look underneath the rug in this world they've been living in where they've become who they need to be for everyone else, and then all the problems and issues that come from that. And then the second part is the roadmap. Okay, how do we do this? And what I teach my clients is learning to put yourself first. It's really learning and looking at how you put yourself last, how you wipe yourself off your calendar. You don't follow through to do things that you enjoy. You don't make time for yourself. We get very sped up and busy in life, which disconnects us from who we are. And so I teach them a very simple practice of then how to put yourself first to where you are connecting with you, you are considering yourself, making yourself a priority, making yourself important to you. And then that connection to yourself then is where all the self-awareness comes from, to see the ways you haven't been true to yourself, to see the ways that you've gotten off track, and you're not making choices that really allow you to be who you are and not have to live under this pressure of being who you think you need to be. So that's how I support and help my clients, is really teaching them how to go from putting yourself last to putting yourself first through a very simple practice of reconnecting with things that you enjoy and love doing, and then making that time for yourself. It's very simple. That's the beauty in it all. It's not a complicated list of things you have to keep up. It's a very, very simple process. It's just something that we need to be taught, and to be able to look within ourselves to actually see the true reasons of why we've gotten so stuck.
So it sounds like this bleeds over into like boundaries a little bit, like setting boundaries for yourself for what aligns with you and what doesn't. Is that true?
Well, I think that that's one way that we can look at it. Where we often get off track with something like boundaries is we often think boundaries are for other people, and that we need to set boundaries with others, and that they're the ones getting us off track and making our lives so difficult. And that puts us in a position of pointing the finger outside of us and living in blame or victim mentality. So the way that I look at it is that it's really learning to consider myself. It's really slowing down and asking myself, what would I like to do? What's important to me? And even if I don't follow through to do what I want because there's other people involved and I want to be considerate and thoughtful, at least I've given myself the space and the time to check in with myself about what's important to me. So it's for me, the boundaries are for myself to put the bumpers in place for me to really check in with myself and do my best, and not trying to enforce boundaries on other people, because then again, it puts the control and power outside of ourselves.
So good. Oh, to beers, boundaries are for you, not for other people. So, Karyn, I would like to pivot a little bit and talk about hardships that you faced in your life. I know life isn't all gumdrops and lollipops, and we all
Mhm,
come across these hard times. But sometimes people might look at
mhm,
you right now and be like, Karyn, she has it all together. I could never be like that, because they
mhm,
don't see the hardships along the way.
mhm.
Would you mind sharing a hardship that you faced to get to where you are
Yeah.
today?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's really important to know that the reality of life and just the very nature of life is that it's full of ups and downs. It's full of the unexpected. It's full of challenges we couldn't foresee coming. It's full of challenges that if we slow down, we absolutely know are coming, if we're, being realistic with ourselves and being honest. So I think it's important for the listeners to know and to normalize, and this is something that I've had to do and continue to work on, um, is to really embrace life for what it is, and to not think that life is without hardship. So even in being on this path, I still face hardships. I still face ups and downs. I still face things in my life that are very challenging and push me to have to deepen within my own commitment to myself all the time. Just a year ago, my husband was in an accident at work and he broke his leg and he was out of work for 4 or 5 months. And then he made a huge career shift that it was all so challenging to me because it really shined a light on my codependency on my husband to provide for me, to care for me. And I had to work through all kinds of things within myself and see like the icky underside that had been hiding out that couldn't have been brought into light until that happening. I mean, my whole pretty much from 12 years old to 26, I was on a path of beginning to use drugs. And then that swirled into heavy drug use in my early 20s. I've had plenty of challenges with my family and things that my family have gone through that turn things upside down. So there's so much there. Um, and for everyone listening, just knowing when you can embrace the ups and downs in life and embrace the challenges and use them to grow and learn, that's where you find your confidence and your belief in yourself. Um, and it's not about getting to a place where there are not hardships or there are not challenges. I am certainly not there and will never be there because that's not the reality of life. And when we try to make that the reality, that's where we really lose our sense of confidence and our sense of self assurance because we don't feel like we can handle life. And we're constantly wishing life was something other than what it was or what it is.
Yeah, and you mentioned that like the icky underside that you didn't want to face or you didn't want to see. How
Hmm.
how do you deal with that, or how do you face it, and then
Hmm.
or what would be the importance of facing it?
Yeah. Well, that's how we grow and learn when we can expose the things we don't want to see about ourselves. That's the only way that we can overcome them and change. As long as I'm trying to deny that or suppress that in myself and not wanting to deal with it, it continues to run my life and it continues to play out behind the scenes. And then I wonder why I get stuck or why I still struggle with this or struggle with that. When we are willing to see that icky underside, the things we don't want to see about ourselves, that life naturally exposes through the different ups and downs, it's counterintuitive, Marie, but that's actually where we gain a sense of understanding who we are. And in that vulnerability and in that courage to look at those things within ourselves is where we find our confidence. It's where we learn that we can trust ourselves, that we will be there for ourselves. And that's where we get our sense of self-assurance and our sense of confidence is actually by being willing to go there and being willing to look at those parts of us. It's counterintuitive to what our mind tells us will happen if I have to see that about myself. So like I mentioned with the experience last year with my husband, it exposed how financially dependent I was on my husband. It exposed how I wanted him to take care of me. When he actually shifted careers and got a job that he was excited about, I saw how I didn't want him to be happy because if he's happy and he's strong in himself, then I have nowhere to hide. I'm faced with my struggles. And then what if he leaves? And it just exposed all these things underneath the surface that I couldn't see. And you would think, oh my gosh, why would you want to look at that? Or, oh my gosh, that makes you a horrible person. And actually, it's just, no, that's my humanness. That's also my ways as a woman wanting to be taken care of that we all have elements of within ourselves. So when I can normalize that and look at it, I show myself I'm worth it to look at these things and I know myself better so I can catch myself in those patterns and actually change. As long as I suppress these things, I can't change and I will stay stuck in them.
So good. So let's end with a tip to encourage women who are in the arena fighting for the
Mhm.
life that they want.
Mm. I would say what we're talking about today, and it's not necessarily a tip, but a shift in perspective is beginning to embrace, as I needed to do, embracing yourself as the problem in your life. As long as we think it's everyone or everything else, we're pointing the finger outside of ourselves to people and things and circumstances that we have no control over. And that keeps us very stuck, resentful, feeling bad about ourselves, feeling bad about life and the world around us. So if you can make the shift to begin to let in, I am the problem, therefore I am the solution, you can begin to look at your different choices and decisions in life that deplete you of your sense of confidence, that deplete you of a sense of knowing who you are, and begin to make different choices to change your circumstances and to change your experiences of yourself. So that if you're in the arena fighting for the life that you want, you have to begin to see yourself as the problem in your life so that you are empowered to be the solution. It's not about beating yourself up. It's not about making yourself bad or wrong. It's about empowering yourself to actually make constructive, meaningful, lasting change in your life.
Yes, we're all about confidence here. I love that tip. And then I imagine that that can be kind of empowering or encouraging in itself to realize that you're the solution. Like you're the problem, but you're also the solution.
Exactly. You're the only solution that can be because
Right.
you're the only person you have any control over.
So, Karyn, how can we connect with you?
Yeah. So if you want to learn more about who I am or my happiness course for women, or watch some of my videos or read some of my blogs, you can find me at ahappinesscourse.com. And I'd love to have you there. And if you want to reach out and learn more about me or my services, then you can reach out to me through the contact page. And again, that's ahappinesscourse.com.
Thank you so much, Karyn. You've been a total badass and I've enjoyed hearing your story.
Thank you, Marie.
And with that, we'll end our show. To all the badass women out there staying in the arena, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, own it and get after it. Okay, 5 takeaways. Number 1, you are the problem in your life, but you are also the answer. You're the answer that you've been searching for your whole life. Number 2, reflect on ways that you're not being true to yourself. Things that you're doing that don't align with your values and who you are. Number 3, happiness comes when you decide, I only want to be me. I only want the life that I have. Number 4, reconnect with things you enjoy and love doing, and then make time for yourself. Number 5, when you can embrace ups and downs in life and embrace the challenges and use them to grow and learn, that's where you find that you're confident, or that's where you find your confidence and believe in yourself. Make sure tune in on Thursday to hear 3 reasons why Karyn Seitz is so badass.
Now that you've listened to this episode of Ordinary to Badass, we want to hear from you. Go to our website, ordinarytobadass.com/podcast, and submit your own experience on how you took your life from ordinary to badass and get the chance to be on a future spotlight episode of the show. That's ordinarytobadass.com/podcast. While you're waiting for the next episode of the show, wipe off the sweat, dust off the dirt, and get back in the arena.